how are people not seeing this? Like it's right in front of you, right? We've seen it from things like we were talking about, the redefinition of marriage, right? Where it was just, we're going to implement this just for their rights and it's not going to be about you. And now they're all up in your face, right? We're going to shove the doctrine to your kids. We're going to allow them to transition at the age of 11, when they can't even make a lunch by themselves, but they can have a surgical reproductive, operation that's going to be most likely permanent and more often than not doesn't actually heal the mental illness. But that's another conversation.
Welcome back to another episode of PPK. Yes, it's not a dream. It's not a vision you're having right now.
You're not rewatching episode 41.
We are back. A good old do the harder thing. Jordan Burke reached out the other day. I know Miko's got a couple pings lately and is like, hey, bro, I think there's something wrong with the podcast platforms. The last episode was in July. But, we've had a lot of stuff going on, right? I mean, Meeks had to do his cross-country run back to Franciscan. Keone had baby Gianna in August. We got this whole, mandatory the thing going on at people's jobs, like at my previous one. So we've had a lot of stuff going on. So actually, from a culmination perspective into this episode, it actually kind of lends itself very well to the topic of discussion. So as usual, Meeks coming all the way from Steubenville, Ohio, in the thick of things. What do we talk about today?
Well, I'm going to try to get this out as quick as possible because I know I'm going to be doing a little bit of that buffer action during this podcast, but hopefully you guys can hear me. Today we're talking about the New World Order. If you guys didn't realize, through the mandates and the new COVID religion that everyone's getting baptized in and confirmed actually already. They're moving pretty quickly through these sacraments of COVID. And I think just the culmination of all these things happening. I think for a long time, we're going to talk about this, but I think as Americans, it's always been about just coexisting, man, and don't impose your faith on me. And we thought that was good enough. And think about the market. And then we don't really talk about virtue in the market. It's just about, right? I mean, the wealth of nations, Adam Smith, all these things. It's about your personal need helps out. Hey, if Keone wants something that he's willing to pay for it and I have that service, we're both just in our own self-interest. And at the whole is going to make everything go plan smoothly. That's going to make the market go. And we don't need anything but, we don't need virtue. That's not necessary for us to survive. That's not necessary for the economy to thrive. Actually, personal interest is what's going to drive it. That's what's going to get us lower prices. It's going to give us. So this whole time, throughout all of our history, we've just been told that, put whatever that personal religious virtue that you talk about, put that to the side. Let's just all come here. Let's make sure the government stays off our back, and let's move forward and coexist. Essentially, that's all we've been talking about. And now what we see is that the minority groups. And that means the Alphabet Gang and all these other people who are now coming after and they're canceling everybody and all this kind of stuff. See, they didn't want to coexist. What they wanted is the power they have now, right? Because when you're and we'll continue, obviously this is just the intro. I know I'm getting a little crazy right now. But if you have a Marxist interpretation of history, all it is it's a progression towards who has power. That's all it's about. And so before I buffer, we'll just throw that out to you guys.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. I think the argument made early on with certain things, like you think about redefinition of marriage and things of that nature, was, hey, what is it to you? Does it hurt you any? And I think when we start to undermine truth and we start to say, well, I don't want to, your truth is your truth, my truth is my truth. And then we kind of get to this universalism or this pluralism, right, where everybody just coexists. That's not the way that man works, especially fallen man. Right, survival of the fittest. It's if you're either going to get on or get out of the way. And so what we're seeing now is where people are starting to go, wait a minute. There's this big overreach across so many different fronts, specifically on the moral front. Personal autonomy, medical autonomy is no longer afforded to you because if you're on the wrong side of that equation, then we're just it's about might, right? It's about me forcing and imposing. So here we were, all the quote unquote Christians, or the let's kind of get along with everybody, and then look what happens when the power is assumed. Now they're sitting on the throne, if you will. When there's a king that's actually based on virtue, things can go really well, right? Because it's for the true common good of society. It's for the betterment of all peoples, including those that are most vulnerable, including those that are all classes, all ethnic backgrounds. But what we're seeing now is definitely a shift of that power. At least things are being highlighted, right? Because I think you're seeing people fight back against the infringements upon personal freedom, medical autonomy, personal autonomy, and just the ability. So people, when you start to see like Trumpers and BLM activists marching for the same thing against, the jab mandate, it kind of tells you something, where they actually put their political differences to the side because they believe in one concrete thing, and that's called freedom. What say you, Keone?
Yeah, I think we're just seeing the product of, a few episodes that we've talked about with relativism flowing forth into the idea of modernism, and how, it's everything is as good as everything. Your belief's as good as mine. We can all just kind of, like Meeks was saying, coexist, and there is no wrong belief. And I think that's flowed from, modernism into politics, into the church, into, societal norms now that we're seeing in this new normal. And, we're seeing the product of it. And I think there's now, it's forcing people who may have not have thought of standing up, may not have thought that they had to fight and not just, have this libertarian mindset of just, I'm going to stay in my bubble and do what I do, and you guys just leave me alone. It's now the minority, like Miko's saying, these groups, these cancel culture groups are now in your face, and they're trying to take away things and force things upon you. And, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine from college, and we were talking about how, how we gotten this way. How is the Pope, in his meeting with Pelosi, and that's topic for another day. But Pope Francis, and we have some questions about our Holy Father, and about even our president, and so we had that conversation. And what I told him was something that Father Ripperger has said, that the what you see in the world right now in politics and in world leaders is a reflection of what you're seeing in the church. And it's because our clergy and our families haven't held strong to the truth. They haven't been persevering in what the Catholic Church has taught. And so I think, when you have weak clergy, you have, pretty poor parishes, and poor parishes breed poor families. And now these poor families are saying they're Catholic, and they saying what they personally believe, even though they won't say it in any other policy.
Yeah.
And now they're in positions of power, and we're getting just confused people, generations now, where they're like, okay, well, President Biden is what a Catholic should look like in society. And that's, now you have, kids and young families looking at that as an example. And so we're kind of seeing the product trickle down from the Holy Church and the graces that flow forth in the church. And our actions aren't seeming to reap much fruit. So
yeah, Meeks.
Yeah, there's something, maybe I can help kick this off a little bit. Keone, he had texted Pops and me about kind of, we were talking about some ideas through this 6-month oasis that we've been in. How important it is to say what you mean and mean what you say, and how the people in power have been ambiguous on purpose to change words' meanings, to redefine things like marriage. I mean, even look at COVID, they call everything a case. Now in science, prior to 2020, when science was kind of a thing, that they actually said the word case for when you had to be treated, when you had to go to the hospital. Now, not everyone who has COVID is a case. It's not a case of COVID if you don't get treated. Symptom is, and you're good to go. That's not a case. It's not what a COVID is, but they've set it to a point where we all believe in this fear monger of COVID cases as opposed to COVID infections. So once again, words have meaning, right? And so that's a big one. Obviously, there's redefinition of marriage and a lot of these other things, but it's about understanding. I mean, here's another one. I think when we used to say, when people say, well, that's my personal belief. Well, what are we saying in that? Right? And now look what we've created. We've created a my truth relativist culture because we didn't want to. We're contributing to the world order, which is basically what's modernism, putting everything on the same. Catholicism is Muslim, is Mormon, is Buddhism, is whatever. That's what modernism is trying to do. Make everything equal because there is no truth to tell you. And so, one of the funny things was I was watching about evolution and stuff like that, and we kind of talked about science rules and whatnot, and how evolution is a theory, first of all. And it was just funny because, in the scientific method, I think we're all aware, but it starts with an observation, right? And so people, this video, they're talking about, well, I don't believe in, some God. Science is fact. I stand with science because science is just truth. What you guys have is imagination, it's faith. And then, the guy simply asked them, hey, can you show me an observable example of Darwin evolution? Darwin evolution is a kind. It's not necessarily just adaptation, right? It's not a fish becoming a cooler fish because it's adapted through whatever it is, but it's a change of kind. It's some sort of fish becoming on ground mammal like we are, because we all came from fish, is what they tell us. So he's saying, can you give me, like the scientific method said, an observable example? Well, no, you can't, because there's nothing observable that has done a change in kind, a Darwin evolution in front of our eyes. It's all been millions of years. And so what does that mean? It means that they had faith. They have faith in science. They have faith in these people who have looked at fossils. They have faith in all these people who have told us. They have faith in our teachers. They have faith in our school system. They have faith in wherever the textbooks are. They have faith, is the point. So this whole time they've been making fun of us for having faith, and we go, well, the Bible's not true in all of the senses and chapters. Genesis is kind of just a fairy tale. So we just let them abuse us this whole time. And then now we're at a point where they're going to force the jab down our throats. And then we're just kind of sitting there like, oh, yeah, I mean, it's probably good, right? Science is true. Science is real. Science is this and that. And it's like, man, we let them abuse us this whole time. Mm-hmm. These people can't even show it. They can't show us a monkey becoming a human. It has to happen over millions of years. And you better believe that, because that's just truth. No, that's still faith. That's still faith. You believe in the scientists who have told you that over millions of years. Now, this is obviously not a Bill and I, a science guy segment here. But the point is they bullied us this whole entire time to get to where we are now. Mm-hmm. And so for this episode, what we're hoping to do is get people to actually stand up. And it's not about, hey, this is just my faith, man, I'm keeping this to myself. No, truth is truth. And so marriage is only marriage. It has the whole matrimony part of it, the mother part, the one where there's the different sexes and they do something together that procreates. That's what marriage is. There's nothing else. And the church is, pretty plain about people who actually can't procreate. And so we're pretty consistent with what we think, with what a marriage is supposed to be, right? With what's revealed to us through natural law. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's just time that we got to stop, man. I mean, it just can't be, COVID might be, or the vaccine might be good for you, but I don't know about, we got to just, what is true? That's it, right? And we're seeing these people get canceled left and right. My boy Chappelle is just taking the bullets. And he's not even saying anything that crazy. He's really not saying anything that crazy. And he just brought up, before I pass it along, and I buffer, I do want to bring up a little 40-second segment I saw from Chappelle, but it talked about DaBaby, who recently got canceled, the rapper. Not a good rapper. I wouldn't recommend listening to him. He's pretty garbo. But he did get canceled for making some sort of HIV comments or something like that, obviously geared towards our alphabet friends. And Dave Chappelle talked about how DaBaby has literally murdered somebody. He's shot somebody and killed them, and you can look that up. But they didn't cancel him for that. They canceled him for making HIV comments. So I think when we look at the New World Order, we need to understand what are we actually, words have meaning, right? These things that these people are doing, why are we in the place that we are? Why is it that you can murder someone? Why is it in basketball? You can literally be bumping and grinding in the post, but as soon as you're on the sideline, you have to wear a mask. Like, are we asking ourselves these big things, or the point where we have to challenge? Can we please challenge what's going on here? This is
Yeah.
the New World Order, guys.
Yeah.
And we've allowed it to happen because we let ourselves get bullied into saying, no, man, this Jesus guy, he's my guy. He doesn't have to be your guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Michelle and I, my wife, for those of you who may not know, my wife and I were driving, and we're having some sort of conversation about kind of the nonsense going on. And she was asking me, like, how are people not seeing this? Like, it's right in front of you, right? We've seen it from things like we were talking about, the redefinition of marriage, right? Where it was just, we're going to implement this just for their rights, and it's not going to be about you. And now they're all up in your face, right? We're going to shove the doctrine to your kids. We're going to allow them to transition at the age of 11, when they can't even make a lunch by themselves, but they can have a surgical reproductive, operation that's going to be most likely permanent, and more often than not doesn't actually heal the mental illness. But that's another conversation. There's that issue. Then we've seen the whole COVID thing. It started with 15 days to slow the spread, and now what has it gone to? It's gone to, you either get the vaccine
And all the boosters.
Yeah, you get the vaccine and all the boosters every 6 months because we're gonna cash out, or you don't have a job.
Yeah.
And it's about your health. But no one's going to talk about natural immunity. No one's going to talk about a healthy lifestyle. Keep going to McDonald's, right, every day. And who needs to exercise? Because we're not about body shaming, plus size figures. So it's just like, is it really about health here in this country? It's not. It's about whatever makes you feel good, and it's about control and power. So my wife was like, how are people not seeing this? And I was like, well, I think it gets to a deeper level of how many people in this country and even beyond actually reflect in a day. How many people have actually sat back in their day and have not scrolled through TikTok and have not, watched every episode that's even on Netflix possible for the 47th time? How many people have not, just played, Minecraft all day and actually just sat down and thought about what's going on in our world today and the progression of it. Mm-hmm. And it started from things as simple as, that's my belief. What's it to you? It's things as simple as, it's my reproductive rights, which has nothing to do with the fact that you're murdering a human being. Right? It's these words do have meaning, and this vague choice of words that has been put down has led to a lot of cowardice, where the people who should speak take it and be like, oh yeah, yeah, you're right. I mean, it isn't anything to me. Right, whether you get the vaccine, it isn't anything to me, which, there's a place in that, but we're seeing now where they're gonna push until now you have no say because you didn't stand up. Now your choice, your even opportunity to speak is now stripped from you. Mm-hmm. And so now think about it: people who are facing a job loss because of this, even if you do speak up, it's almost too late because of the fact that, you need a rally. You need, all the pilots of Southwest to really just stand up. You need a lot of people. You need all the nurses in a hospital, right? It takes a huge kind of rallying of the troops. And it's not where, back in the day, it could have been one person or a couple of people to be like, hey, whoa, we're not about this. But it's gotten so far that it's going to take a lot of us to be bold. And I think, Meeks, kind of to your point, this is what we're trying to do here, is let people know, like, it's no longer time to just be like, hey, I'm just going to worry about me, man, and what we're going to try to do. I'm trying to get my soul saved. All y'all can do whatever you got to do. It's not about that, because of the fact that we, as Catholics, our listeners, they know better, and so God's going to ask us, what did you do about my suffering world? Mm-hmm. Right? What did you do to the least of these? Were you bold or were you selfish?
Yeah, I mean, right now you think about in places that you wouldn't even expect it. NBA, for instance, right, where they all kind of just acquiesce and pander because most of them are chowderheads like LeBron. Hurry up and get off the Lakers. But guys like Jonathan Isaac, right? So you look at Jonathan Isaac came out. You have Bass Beasley that came out, right? Who am I missing? That Andrew Wiggins,
Kyrie.
right? Kyrie, but Andrew Wiggins. Look at those four
Andrew
guys.
Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins did what? He absolutely pandered, acquiesced, and then even after he got it, you would think he'd be so relieved, right? How do you feel about it? Well, I really didn't want to do it, but you did it. You did it, and you have somebody like Kyrie, who is the last person on this earth that I would think would be the one to say, nah, you know what? I actually have a brain. I actually have my own higher faculties to think, and I'm not going there, and I don't think it's okay. And so, and yet now you got people like Stephen A. Smith, who runs his mouth trying to talk about Kyrie is stupid. I'm like, you're stupid for saying he's stupid, right? So it's just like, but look what happens is they start turning on each other. Right, they start, and you have all of these. So think about that for a second. If this was so good, and again, I think everybody needs to discern it for themselves, for sure. But if it was so good, why do you have medical professionals that are disagreeing with you? Why are doctors and nurses so willing to lose their job? Why do you have air traffic control people walking off the job? Why do you have pilots? You name it. So on and so forth. You have this idea of virtue signaling, but not people being virtuous. It takes straight courage. Some people, when you're forced, and we're all in that position, us three on this podcast are in a position where we have to feed our families. And I recently had to face that same choice, being mandated or not. And could I have done a religious exemption? Sure. But you're going to arbitrate over what's good and what's not, what's approved or what's denied. I don't know. Are you God? And that was a conversation that I had specifically with leadership and whatnot. And you best believe people came out of the woodworks once they found out. But if you would have thought, I felt like I was the only person in that entire organization that was that way. But there were so many people that came out of the woodworks once they found out that you actually stood for something and said, no, I am not okay working for an organization, playing for an organization that thinks that they can overreach and impose their will on you against your own moral conscience. And I think, going back to the thing, like what Michelle brought up, right? Like, think about this. We see this in the church, which is unfortunate, right? Where somehow we require mass. And yet during the consecration, for us, those of us who aren't Catholic, it's the point where the priest is actually, calling for the Holy Spirit. And that's when the material bread and wine are turned into the body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ through the power of the Holy Spirit given by the authority of our Lord. I don't see him putting on a mask there, but he's breathing. Literally, that's part of the rubric, right? Is like they're breathing life into the bread. So it's okay so the Rona stops right at that moment, right? It's Rona's chilling in the pews, but the minute that the priest is consecrating the sacred host, Rona says, oh, he's consecrating, guys, back off. We're not going to, right? The same way we're in the restaurant, right? If you're walking into the restaurant, you have to wear a mask, but when you're sitting next to the table on top of each other, trying each other's French fries, Rona's like, oh, bro, they're eating. Lay off of them.
Real polite. It's
real
polite.
They're super like, hey, dude, they have to meet this. You have to be this high to ride the ride, right? Rona's like, oh, bro, he doesn't meet the height requirement. He can't ride the Rona ride, right? So it's just like, what? We don't even use our brain, and yet we're the ones who are stupid. We're the ones that are idiots, right? The Obamas throwing their birthday party. That's for an elite, intelligent group of people that the Rona says, oh, hey, bro, what was your SAT scores? Oh, yeah, I can't mess with you, right? I can't mess with you because you're at the Obama level. It's just stupid, right? It's just stupid. But yet we're all marching around. How did Hitler convince so many people to exterminate, 6 million Jews, whatever it was? And we're all saying, I couldn't believe that. We look back and it's like, well, what are you doing right now to stand up for truth?
Well, I'm also seeing it too at the schools.
Yeah.
And it's sad because the parents and the administration and the school system, and, I'm a part of that, but at large, our cowardice and our inability to stand up, now we're seeing kids having to wear masks. Now there's a mandate now that you have to be vaccinated, and you're 5 years old. They're just waiting for the approval. I hope it never goes through. But you have kids wearing masks, and I'm seeing this firsthand. Their nose is running. They put it in, they use it as like a tissue and leave it there. They drop their mask on the ground while they're playing soccer, pick it back up, put it on, go to class because I can't show up in class without the mask. And it's like, I don't hear anyone having a mask education. right? And it's like, what are we doing to these kids and their immune systems? But it's about health. Oh, you coughed, you're out for 10 days. Oh, and your education's going to go down the drain because you're at home now, playing Roblox, and you're not actually in class because you coughed. Right. But here's your mask that you sneezed on and stepped on 4 times, and it fell into your friend's bag of Doritos. And now you can eat that. I mean, put that on, and I'm sure you're going to be safe because you got the mask on. Now we're all good. You can come into this classroom. And it's like, it's really unfortunate when you see that. And it's like, when are we going to rally the troops and start to stand up?
Be courageous. Yeah, be courageous. What say you, Makes?
Yeah, it's frustrating to hear that. Just if you're a parent making your kids wear masks 6 hours out of the day, I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. Like, it's just tough. We're on the anniversary of the Miracle of the Sun for Our Lady of Fatima, and we're big fans of Our Lady of Fatima on this channel. My wife's Portuguese, and we're all in there. Her grandmother's name's Fatima. We're about it. You know what I mean? We love it. We love this. We love the apparition dearly, and the messages that came from there. And obviously, one of the biggest ones from Our Lady of Fatima is about Russia spreading its errors. Now, what does that mean? That's a little communist action. And what's the goal of communism? Let's remember, it's about basically complete centralized control in the government, and we don't get any of the private property, none of that. And what do we see during COVID, right? So let's, kind of going around this new world order thing. What we saw from COVID was, who won? Who won the COVID battle? Amazon won, Walmart won, and all the other big ones, Target, they all won. Who lost? All the small businesses. So the people that the government's kind of helping out and are the big corporations, they all won. It's the people with the private businesses, the private property, those are the people that lost. And they're continue to lose. So that's the goal. You guys heard me talk about it a few times. Well, actually, who knows how many people listen, but if you have listened, I talked about it a few times that Patrick Hoffman talked about this whole sustainability thing, and the end goal really is to get you on your own plot of land, and you'll be self-sustaining there and don't have too many kids and all this kind of stuff. I heard something about someone putting in Congress no more than 3 kid limit or something like that. And Newsom's doing and Newsom doing the devil's work over here in California as well. It's just like, what do we think is happening here? I don't know. I just don't know what else to say. How can we explain it? Communism, or Russia's going to spread its errors, right? And we're going to have to pay for that through penance, through the rosary, through giving to stop worrying about profit so much. It just seems like all we care about is saving and this and that. And about the same time, we're the ones empowering Amazon and Walmart, right? Like, I'm one of those people. I have Amazon Prime. I'm empowering those people, empowering Bezos before empowering the small business. And that's something that we got to look at. This is what communism is about. It's about switching power. That's all it is. It's about who's controlling it. And so I think we just all have to wake up to what's going on here. And we can't, I'm sorry, but it can't just be like, that's too difficult. I can't fight the public school system. I got to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. You're killing your kid. The immune system is going down. I cannot imagine what's going to happen to these children after every single day wearing a mask and destroying their immune system for years. I can't imagine what's going to happen. And you're the parents responsible for that. I just don't think we can sit here and just be hands off anymore. We don't, it's like we're not the laissez-faire. It's not how it works. We're not hands off. We have to be doing something. I just can't stand. I don't know. It's like, I get the fighting within, right? Like, we're talking about, we're changing culture from within. But things like California, it's evil what they're doing. It's an evil place. And you have to be able to, at some point, stand up to these things and just say, I'm not doing it. The people at Southwest, they're empowering all of us. That's the things that we need. My dad saying, you know what, I'm on this job. Because the reality is, could apply for religious exemption. The Vatican says it's a good thing to do. How far can the religious exemption go when our own Pope is saying that it's not a bad thing? So it's like, we're going to have to just, at some point, just fight these things and support each other. That's what the church, that's what community is about. That's what Catholic social teaching is about. It's not about you getting your best buck. It's not about you getting for the biggest bang for your buck and all this kind of stuff. No, it's about helping each other. We have to remember money, all this kind of stuff. It's not ours. It's given to us, right? And that's something I'm trying to figure out because I'm coming. I'm married at people. If that's wise or not doesn't really matter to me. But I'm coming out married. I'm gonna be in debt. Not sure what kind of job I want to do because I don't really want to work for the corporate world. All this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm a child of God, and I have to put everything at His feet. And I think all those things, the suffering that we take on, it's a time for us to join in His cross, which is the most intimate we could be with Jesus other than the Eucharist, obviously. And so I don't know. I think this is it's a calling that at some point we can't just keep doing the, hey man, what do you want me to do? I can't go to Dodgers Giants games unless I get vaccinated. I can't go see my Knicks unless I get vaccinated. It's like, well, don't go see the Knicks then. I don't know what to tell you. Or some of the people that are going to Austria, studying abroad, some of the Franciscan students and stuff like that. I mean, dude, I get it, right? Like, you might have a time of your life, studying abroad and being with your friends, traveling country to country, but I promise you the vaccine is not worth it, dude. Not only based on principle and what we're then allowing them to do and how we empower those people, but the fact that, we don't know, dude. If my best bet is that it's a little bit of an infertility vibe in there. That's my best bet, and it's been proven for a little bit, I think. And we're not gonna get canceled because no one watches it anyways. But I'm just saying I'm not gonna go too far. But I think there's some infertility things, and it's just so no more doing what you gotta do to get by. Let's just stand for truth because we don't know when time's gonna end. So, and personally, I'd rather die broke with understanding I stood for truth than rich and fake and shallow and willing to be Judas. So
yeah. We talk about carrying your cross, and we support the bands and let me get in the camera, bands and the merch and all that. And be sure to check out Carry Your Cross. I just actually saw their fall merch, and they're looking kind of nice. I might need a hoodie. So anyways, we talk about carrying your cross, and it's about time that we have to do that. And I just rewatched a Fulton Sheen episode because you can just rewatch those and still learn something new every time. But he talked about the diabolic and the devil, and what is the diabolic in the world today, and how do we know it's there? And the easiest way to sense and snuff out the diabolic is an anti-cross, is being so against the cross. And he gave the example of Peter when he was saying that he's going to have to die and be tortured and all that Peter wanted the magnificent Lord that he followed. He wanted the miracle worker, right? But he didn't want the suffering slave, right? He didn't want the weak servant that was going to be crucified. And so what did Jesus say? He said, "Get behind me, Satan," because of the fact that the devil is anti-cross. He doesn't want that. And so when we see so many crosses laid out there and none of us are willing to pick them up, and we have our politicians and our clergymen, unfortunately, all the way up to the highest levels, not wanting to pick up the cross and even putting policies to make it anti-cross, right? It's all about your feelings, and it's about what we say, and it's about your health. And when we're given crosses now, right? Because of the fact that we've probably ignored so many, God's giving us a lot of opportunity to pick up a cross and to make saints. The good thing about what comes out of this nonsense is that God always has some sort of plan and some ultimate good. And I think we're seeing people like a Kyrie Irving, who we would never expect to stand up. We're seeing someone like Sage Steele, who I've grown up watching on ESPN. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? Like standing up. Steven Jackson saying, I think everyone has a right to what they do with their bodies. Like an NBA player who was just supporting BLM like a year ago, we're merging now just for self-reflection. We're getting to the point where, I don't know, it's getting a little too pushy. And I think God is opening up some hearts. And I think those who do know better, you think our listeners, our Catholic circle, those within faith, those who know our Lord, now have the opportunity to continue to evangelize and pick up a cross and actually do some good.
Yeah, Meeks, what's your parting words?
Oh, what's going on? Sorry, guys, a little buffer action. No, I was just I was just gonna say, I think kind of, as we wind down a little bit, my blood pressure gets a little bit lower. Um, I really want to encourage people to just go out and, like, if we resonate with you guys, not only subscribe and comment and stuff like that, but like share these types of these videos, the ones that are just with truth. It doesn't have to be just us, but all the videos who have truth. Um, there's someone in Steubenville a few guys in Steubenville who have a podcast and a website called New Polity. They're awesome. Check them out. Jacob Imam, one of the people who's on there, he kind of inspired some of this episode and stuff like that. And that conversation was with Matt Fradd, another Pints with Aquinas, another YouTube channel. There's just a lot of good things out there, and I think we could do two things, right? We do need to detach, for one, but we also need to take back some of the stuff. Because if we just detach and we say, oh, you know what, let that belong to the secular world, well, the secular world already owns it, and they're brainwashing everybody along. If we can just be annoying instead of saying, well, I don't want to put my faith up there, just be annoying. Be annoying and put everything out there. Be that guy. I know no one wants to be that guy, pal, but be that guy. And I promise you, even though you're going to sometimes you feel annoying, or maybe you don't, and you just like it. Like my wife, Ella, she likes kind of just being that person that's going to push people a little bit around and stuff like that, which is awesome. I try to be like that too. But I promise you, some people are going to really appreciate the fact that you stood up and said something, or that you shared a post, and they're going to do it too. And that's the only way we're going to get out of here. And that's the only way we can, one of the things about the world ending, I forget I think St. Robert Bellman's really big in kind of ending of the world, a lot of different church fathers and things like that. But one of the key things that the world can't end unless we reach all corners of the earth. Until Jesus Christ is proclaimed to everywhere on the earth, then at least from what we know and in tradition, that the world really is not even close to ending. And that's something that I've heard on different podcasts, Patrick Hoffman, U.S. Grace Force podcast, a lot of different things where you can educate yourself and support these kind of people. But I think this is our moment to evangelize through social media, through YouTube. We're people that are passionate about doing this. Once again, I really don't want to work some sales job for some corporation. So it'd be super sick if I could just do this and be all fired up, and maybe you guys like it. If you don't, that sucks for me, I guess. But support. You got to support these people. You got to share it. The word's got to get out. I think there's just so many different ways we can do it. You can't always throw a book at somebody, but you can post a story. A video on your story, and that can get out. So there's, it's kind of both. And I think it's hard to get that balance of detachment and also being able to have a voice and be active on social media and all these kind of things. And that's a balance I think we're responsible to find. I don't think we're void of that responsibility to say, oh, well, it's just too much this way or that, or whatever it may be. There is a proper balance, and there's a median there. And there's a calling for more of us to create. This calling for good movies that don't just have sex scenes and blowing up cars like all Fast and Furious movies. There's room for actual creativity, the true, the good, and the beautiful. And there's a calling for all of us to go out and do something. And that's what we're trying to do here. So be nice. We get some shares and likes and comments and stuff like that, so we continue, because we, especially us three, have really big ideas of what we want to do. We want to continue to push this platform. We want to give more people a platform. We want to give those artists, those creators. We want to give doctors who are speaking out. We want to give all of these people platforms, because I think the more that we see people that we relate to, the more it's going to encourage us and help us to be, warriors out here and to battle. And so, I think, not exactly sure where I was going with that, but I think mostly around the point of sharing and using media as a way to fight these corporations and the techocracy, or whatever they call it, the big tech and all of them.
The oligarchy.
Just literally fighting YouTube by promoting things that they literally stand against, or fighting Instagram by continuing to do it. Who cares if they cancel you? You got to be pretty big for that Instagram to cancel you or YouTube to cancel you. So if you made it that far, then you're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would just kind of encourage you to be courageous. I think being small, like when we think about the great poem, what is your deepest fear, right? We know that being small doesn't help anybody. And I think when you act out in courage, regardless of whether or not it's popular or the in thing to do, it actually liberates other people to do the same. And I think, going back to everything that we talked about this entire episode, I know there was a heavy focus on the thing, with the jab and the mandates and everything else, but it really comes down to, again, free will. It's the one thing that God gave us that he respects us to choose for ourselves. And yet when you have anybody, especially an institution, forcing and imposing upon that freedom, then you probably should be waking up a little bit to them trying to replace God. And I just think about the future historians of this world, right? Like, where are you going to be on this issue 20 years from now? When you talk about the issues with the kids and the parents that are, some are really trying, some are really fighting, and I know to a point of desperation. But where are you going to be on the side of history? Are you going to be on the side of the Nazis and the communists and the Marxists and the ones who've oppressed and really stripped out life? Or are you going to be on the side of the patriots, and however you define that, with regards to just fighting for freedom, of free speech, freedom of religion, and freedom for personal choice and autonomy. That's the one thing about us being Catholic, right? There's a lot of things that we disagree with plenty of our brethren, especially that are non-Christian or non-Catholic in particular, as it relates to marriage, family, you name it. But one thing we always do is we always respect the dignity of the human person, no matter where you stand. We can be 100% 180. Whereas if you notice, those who are in control and power now, do you think they respect the dignity of the human person? No, they're going to try to stomp it out of you, right? You're either going to convert, right, or we will kill you. And I think that's the point where when we start to think about what we're doing here, you don't get to take a U-Haul with you to heaven or hell. You don't get to take any of these material things. You only get to take the soul and the souls that are attached with it. So, as we round this out, we thank you for your patience as we try to get back on track. Appreciate the patience as we were kind of buffering a little bit this episode. But hopefully this does encourage you. Share with everybody that you know. You know how we do it on here. We try to get holy or die trying, but we need to bring truth to everybody who has ears ought to hear. So may God bless you and keep you and protect you always. And until the next episode, get holy or die trying. Peace.